Welcome everyone to today's episode of Fuel by Growth, a podcast for female entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we have Terri Huggins. She's an award-winning journalist who lives in the constant state of an identity crisis, deciding if she aligns more with her maiden name, Huggins, or her married name, Huggins Hart, at any given moment. Nonetheless, she's excelled in following her calling of telling much needed stories in popular media, blogs, and newsletters. In the last 10 years, as a journalist, she has written for national publications such as Real Simple, New York Times, Parents, Washington Post, Good Housekeeping, Essence, Better Homes and Gardens, What to Expect, amongst others. She's also a frequent moderator, speaker, and panelist on topics relating to motherhood, personal and professional development, race and culture, and disabilities. However, Terry's most important descriptor is happy. She's convinced she's figured out the key to living life with no regrets. Do what you love, give love, and lead with love, and hope others will learn to do the same. Well, thank you for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I always love speaking to people dedicated to helping women grow in their business.
Thank you. So before starting, I'd love to know more about your story and how did you start Terrific Words?
Oh, I love that question. So, Terrific Words is actually born out of my name, obviously, because Terri is in terrific. And when I first started, you probably saw from my email, it's writing by Terri. And I changed it to Terrific Words because I realized on the phone, writing did not always come out clearly. It could be like riding, and people are like, oh, like riding a bicycle. So it was interesting. So I'm like, all right, this isn't going to work. So I changed it to Terrific Words. So that's how that name started. And I felt like it was clear, included in my name. People could understand when I said it on the phone.
Yeah.
And, the part lends to my writing ability.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I love it. So, but also, besides your business, you're a performer, you're a dance instructor. So, how do you manage your business, your family, and the second job, or how would you call it?
You know what? It's a job, but it honestly does not feel like a job. I do get paid to teach classes. I grew up dancing. I actually did have a minor in dance in college. I was a pole dance instructor throughout my pregnancies, and I currently teach
Oh,
Zumba. And really, it just brings me so much joy. As much as I love writing and being creative and constantly coming up with new ideas, it can also be mentally exhausting. So, dancing and teaching classes, it helps me release, it helps me refresh myself, and it gives me a chance to connect with the community. I get to go out and sometimes do Zumba performances and dance classes for like March of Dimes marches and things like that, which I love. It's truly a beautiful experience that brings me so much happiness.
yeah, and a bit, you get your creativity back once you let your mind be free for a moment, right? It's that
Yeah.
space that you create. So that's amazing. Okay, so as you may know, the audience of the podcast is of course female entrepreneurs. So how can we help them with more copywriting insights in terms of like how they can have craft the right messaging that communicates, say, to their audience, for instance?
One thing that I've noticed in terms of copywriting is that a lot of people go for clever over clear. You can have a fabulous, cute, catchy title, but this isn't a TV show. You're really trying to sell your audience, and nobody's going to know that you are the baby whisperer or that you excel at, changing diapers if you call yourself baby whisperer or, whatever cutesy name. So it's really better to be clear over clever. And save that cleverness for something else, maybe when you write your book down the line or whatever. But in terms of copywriting, it doesn't really help you make any sales, or it doesn't help people know who you are.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big one.
Yeah. But also it's a matter of helping you convert in terms of like driving people towards, say, if you're to be on a landing page, to driving people to take the right action. So if from the very beginning that copy doesn't sell or doesn't attract the right people, it's also really important to understand the fact that it might not engage with your target audience. So how can, is there any process that you follow in terms of like creating that message that you could like to recommend?
So while copywriting isn't necessarily my forte because I am a journalist at hand, what I do always say is to pay attention to the problem that you solve and what is that key transformation. What does your audience ask for and what are they searching for? Because they're probably not searching for whatever long tail sentence that you decided to call your mission. They're searching simple terms. So that's definitely one way to make it clear, concise, and convert. I will say another important aspect of being clear is, or why it's important to be clear, because it helps you get those media mentions that people so often crave to help advance their business. And I can say that as a journalist who gets literally hundreds of press releases a day, having somebody who can clearly share who they are and why I should talk to them is so necessary to get that media leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, following your example, I think that's like actually a great step for people stay starting their businesses, how they can approach major media outlets. So how they can tell the story in a way that's attractive. As you say, you receive so many requests per day. So which one of those requests is the one that stands out, and why?
So I absolutely love that question. So as mentioned, I no lie, at this moment, my inbox has 13,000 unread emails. And I wish that was not the case, but 13,000 unread emails. And as mentioned, a lot of them are press releases that really aren't that great. And that does not mean that the people behind them aren't great, but the message isn't great. Some of the number one, actually, I think the main mistake that I see in press releases is that they are just telling me that they're an expert. They're telling me that they're a business. They're telling me they have a product, but they're not telling me what they can speak to. They're not telling me the story. There's a lot of people who forget that, yes, you're a business owner. Yes, you're an influencer. Yes, you're an expert, but you're also a person. And we need to know that you can actually talk about something. Not, and it sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many press releases I get from people who say, I am an influencer and I was able to gain 1 million followers in 6 months. Talk to me for your next publication. And don't get me wrong, being able to get that many influencers is, or that many followers is a huge accomplishment because I know it takes a lot of strategy,
Yeah, it's hard work. Yeah.
marketing, etc. However, having a lot of influencers does not tell me what you can talk about. Or why do I keep saying that? Having a lot of followers does not tell me what you are able to talk about. It does not tell me what you are knowledgeable about. And it does not make you credible either. So that is the number one thing. And that was just a very long way to answer your question.
No, I think I love it because it's you're bringing your expertise, and I think it's very valuable for people listening out there. What do they need to take into account when they are going to submit, say, a press release to a media outlet, and then is why they don't get response? Then these are the kind of insights that we can dive deeper into just for people to understand, especially when someone is starting at the beginning of their journey. They might not consider so much being in the media because there might be other pressing issues that are in the day to day, they are busy with. But what is the impact that being in a major media outlet can have?
So, having those mentions in the media definitely does lend to your credibility. as a business owner. And depending on what industry you're in, that can help project you to being known as an expert. So, I mean, if you are a psychologist and you are mentioned in whatever media talking about mental health day, and actually, I think today may be mental health day,
Yeah, I
or
think there is something around these dates
yeah,
about mental health.
at
Yeah,
least in the
yeah.
United States. So if you are mentioned in the media about that and how burnout lends to mental health, or or burnout in the office place lends to mental health, and somebody needs a psychologist, that helps boost your credibility because you are, in a sense, vetted by knowledgeable media. So people know, okay, this is somebody that I can trust with whatever mental health issues I'm having. If you are somebody who um, let's say you're a mechanic and you are quoted in a publication about how to winterize your car as the weather changes in the States, and somebody needs to get an oil change or whatever, they need whatever car maintenance, and they happen to come across that, then they may look you up and utilize your services. So you can definitely leverage your media mentions into business, or convert that into business, or whatever you need, sales, subscribers, views, etc. So that's definitely a benefit. The hard part is just getting mentioned in the media, which isn't that hard once you actually know how to do it.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. So, say for instance, someone would like to be in the media and they're going through the process of researching what type of media outlets might be for them. So, what are the things that they might need to consider in terms of like maybe the target audience, or what other aspects would you recommend?
Right. So the first thing you need to do is actually decide why you even want to have a media mention. Because, some people are just about the popularity. And if that's what you are looking for, that's fine. But it doesn't mean you necessarily need to be mentioned in, certain publications. You also need to be clear about who your targeted audience is and what media they're looking into. Where are they? What are they reading? And finally, look at what your message is. That will help you decide what publications will have the audience looking for your message. And just be clear on it. As I mentioned, a lot of the press releases that I get are really just people, again, either mentioning how many followers they have or reiterating their business description. And and I'm like, and it sounds obvious, but it's like, what can you talk about? Um, so what I would suggest then, you want to develop your story. What is your personal story that you can speak to? So yes, you may have developed a product that can help women with their periods every month, and that is fabulous. However, what do you want to talk about in regards to that? Can you talk to the stigma that is surrounding the menstrual cycle? Can you speak to the difficulties as a startup getting funding for your business? Can you speak to the misogyny in the industry, etc.? So you can send a press release saying, "Hi, I'm so and so. I started this business that helps women gain access to sanitary products. I've also experienced a lot of difficulty in getting funding, and I'd love to speak about that experience." You need to have a story, because let's be honest, there's a lot of people who have started a business. There's a lot. So you just sending me your business description does not help me with my story, and it does not give me a reason to actually reach out to you as an expert, or credible in your field.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it needs to be valuable for also the target audience of that media outlet. So,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I'll also say that another issue that I see, as I mentioned, expert, is that a lot of people are just calling themselves experts. And you may actually be an expert. You could be, but a lot of people go on LinkedIn, social media, and say that they're an expert in this, because journalism is, you have to be very careful about who you're sourcing and being
Mhm.
credible and making sure that you're delivering accurate information. We need to know that you actually have experience. So you can't just say you are a financial expert and you've only done helped one person with their budget. uh,
Yeah, yeah,
that
that.
So it's okay if you call yourself an expert, but when you are pitching the media, be able to have the receipts to back it up. And that doesn't always mean a degree either. Like you don't have to have a degree to be an expert, but you have
Yeah,
to at least be able to say, I'm an accountant who has helped, 100 people transform their budgets. Or if you call yourself a parenting expert, say, I am a counselor who has assisted parents in the work-life balance and parenthood, etc. Actually be able to back up the fact that you are an expert.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious to know more about the fact that, so you say that a lot of people send you, you receive regular requests and people calling themselves influencers and experts. What are the topics that you receive more often? I imagine those happen as well, that there are more topics that might be more interesting than others.
So I'll preface it by saying that I mostly write about professional development. I write about parenting. I write about health, lifestyle topics, some travel. So I'm fortunate that most of the pitches that I get are in that realm because they are doing their homework, which is great. You never want to send a pitch to a journalist without knowing if they even cover your area of expertise. That being said, it does happen. I do get emails from people sending me information about, a veterinarian, and I don't cover anything to do with pets or animals. That is not my area at all. So that's clearly somebody who hasn't looked up what I cover or what publications I write for. So that's definitely something that I see a lot of. And I'd imagine that some people listening are going to wonder, well, how do I know who covers whatever topic? And
Yeah.
for that, I would recommend that you go to social media. That is one easy way to find out what a particular journalist covers. What most people don't know is that Twitter is actually a journalist's favorite hangout place.
Okay. Tell me
And
more about
yeah,
that.
I know a lot of people they just don't like Twitter. You don't hear people mention it, but
Yeah.
that's what journalists are. And I have this little joke that everybody says they don't like Twitter, but I always say everybody loves Twitter. And you want to know how I know everyone loves Twitter? Because most of the viral memes that you saw on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, a lot of them are just screenshots of somebody's Twitter.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah,
everything starts in Twitter.
not everything starts in Twitter, but a lot of things starts in Twitter. A lot of things start in Twitter, which is
Yeah.
one of the reasons why journalists hang out there
Yeah.
because they get the knowledge first on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I highly suggest if you do want to get media mentions, make an account on Twitter and start looking up some of the journalists of publications you want to be published in. And that can be easily found. Just go on the Good Housekeeping website. Go on goodhousekeeping.com, look at the names, the bylines of the people, and see if they're on Twitter and start following them. Because journalists a lot of the time use Twitter as their portfolio. They often tweet their stories. So from there you'll see what they cover, who covers what. And the kicker is that they will also share when they need a source for a story. And I'm going to read you this because I am on deadline now. And I literally just made the following tweet on my Twitter earlier this morning. And I said, hey, y'all, I'm looking for one more expert to talk about gentle parenting for a story in goodhousekeeping.com. They must have credentials such as a psychologist, etc. Bonus if you could speak to gentle parenting in the teenage years. And that's what I posted on Twitter. So it is not that difficult to get a media mention. A lot of journalists do things like that. They go to Twitter and look for sources. They may also go to LinkedIn. So that's a couple ways to figure out who to cover or who covers what and who to target.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's for the audience out there, do your research, take care of your messaging, and leverage the use of Twitter, LinkedIn maybe, to get out there and try to get in touch with the right journalist. Like media in general, it looks so far apart, especially for someone who, might be starting, or even if they are in a growing process. So it's really important to understand it can have an impact. It's not as, far away or unreachable as people think. It's possible. It's possible to reach out, but you just need to know the right strategies and have the right insights.
Exactly. And I will definitely say, because I was mentioning social media, you also do not need to have a lot of followers on social media to be mentioned in the media. So if that is what you're believing and it's holding you back from pitching the media, release that thought now, because you are just holding yourself back from potential coverage. There are actually, most of the people that I end up interviewing are not viral on social media at all. I've interviewed people with 400 followers on Instagram, 1,000 followers on TikTok. You do not need to have a large social media following to be mentioned. So a lot of people can breathe easy knowing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is your experience working so far with female entrepreneurs, in terms of like helping them push their story out there? Is there any example that you would like to mention, and how did that go?
So in terms of female entrepreneurs, what I actually do, I'm looking to launch, actually, I'm in the process of launching a VIP day with my target audience actually being women entrepreneurs to help them perfect their pitch that will earn them media mentions. The reason why I want to work with females is, I'm sure as a woman, women have a lot of difficulty talking about themselves and hyping themselves up and recognizing that they are worthy of certain opportunities. So I wanted to help them leverage their knowledge, see that they do have a story worth sharing, and that is pitchable to media outlets.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Is this based on location as well? Is it offline or is it online?
So I will be doing virtual and in person. I'm located in the States in New Jersey. So I know you are in Spain, right?
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands. Where did I get Spain from? You're,
No worries.
you're in the Netherlands. Okay. But I'm in the US. So those who are local to me, I would love to do it with them locally, but I'm also doing it virtually as well. The website has not been launched yet for that. I'm in the process. The website will be iheartthemedia.com. But until then, you can reach out to me and inquire about these VIP days via the email address iheartthemedia@gmail.com. And heart being spelled HART.
Okay, great. So we will leave the links in the description of the video. So before wrapping up, what is the best way for people to reach out to you? We know your email, so if you receive a lot of media requests, but if someone wants to have more information about your services and work with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
They can find me, as I mentioned, I'm on Twitter, where I live, at Terrific Words on Twitter. And my website is terrificwords.com.
Great. So we will post all these things in the description, and the audience can get in touch with you after this interview.
It sounds great.
All right. So before leaving, is there any advice or message that you'd like to say to women entrepreneurs and encourage them to get out there and tell the story?
Yes. What I always tell everybody, there are so many people who say that they don't have any unique story. And you know what? They're right, because there are very few stories that are unique. However, nobody can tell that story the way you do. Nobody can talk about your business, no matter how many people have the same business, the way you talk about your business. So trust that you are so worthy of those mentions and being in the media and getting that clout. You are so worthy of it. And definitely do not hesitate to reach out to journalists. and I meant to say this earlier, one of the best ways to get on a journalist's radar, aside from Twitter, is to just compliment them, to be quite honest. Because, as you heard in my bio, I've written for New York Times, Washington Post, a lot of well-known publications. However, I will be completely honest in saying I get just as self-conscious as everybody else. There are times when you sit there and you're writing and you're like, am I even reaching anybody? Am I writing into a void? So the times that I have somebody in my inbox and say, hey, I read that story that you wrote and it really spoke to me. It helped me with X, Y, and Z. That makes the world of difference. And that is how you build a genuine relationship. And it's those genuine relationships that actually lead you to those media mentions and, just a great connection.
Yeah, absolutely. They move
And
mountains.
also, yeah, like you need to be, because everything can't be transactional. And I feel like we forget that. We forget that everything does not always have to be about the money or what you can do for the other person. Something could just be a really good connection. And that's where it starts. Finally, the last tip that I have in regards to getting media mentions, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is a website, harrow.com, and it stands for help a reporter out.com. And
Yeah.
that, are you familiar with it?
Yeah. There is that one, and I think Source Bottle as well.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
that also. And they're just free listservs in which you can sign up to get emails directly from people in the media looking for specific sources for their stories. So that is one great way to connect directly with them and know that you are sending exactly what they're asking for, as long as you follow all the directions in in that page.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to also include this in the description for people to start
Yeah.
if they're looking for resources or opportunities. They can definitely submit their story onto these platforms, or again search for more opportunities, have them at the right time with the right reporter.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely having you on the podcast, and we keep in touch.
Definitely. That's how you build those relationships, connection.
Love it.